Hello and welcome to our Reboot review. I'm Paul,
And I'm Dave.
and this week we're discussing the episode High Code. This episode originally aired in Canada on September 7th, 1995, and in the US on September 30th, 1995. Let's start off with the number one film at the box office. Again, we're going off the Canadian release date, so early September of 95.
Yes, around then. Despite the fact that it would have been nice to have Mortal Kombat stay a little bit longer, but again, the name sadly did not stick with the movie as it was.
No, it's still Mortal Kombat this weekend.
Surprisingly enough.
Yes, Mortal Kombat
Really?
actually, yeah, it did fairly well actually considering when it was released.
Though it's a question of was that by name or was that just by the films out at the time?
Uh, Looking at what was in the top of the box office before and after, probably not a ton of competition. But also, this is like during the Mortal Kombat like being a huge thing.
That is very true. The wave was there and they were riding it.
Yeah, like Mortal Kombat 2 was 93. When was Mortal Kombat 3? That was 95. So yeah, this would have been, yeah, that's like peak Mortal Kombat.
Mm.
Number one song in America, Dave.
Hmm. Again with that. I might just go with the safest bet, as it might be the one from last week. I believe the Rose one.
Yeah,
Can't
so
remember the full
so
name of
last
that.
week was "Kiss from a Rose" by Seal. It is no longer that. It is currently "You Are Not Alone" by Michael Jackson.
Yeah, that's not too surprising. Though I suppose I'm getting it confused of whether or not that's the one I am thinking of, or if it's a different one of his ones, because I do vaguely remember that there was a song that was associated with a film around that time that gained a bit of popularity, but I do not think it was that You Are Alone one. It was the one song that was on Free Willy.
Let us take a look. "You Are Not Alone." Do music. There's a music video for it. I don't see anything about it being in a movie though. So yeah, it looks like it was just a Michael Jackson song in 1995.
Yeah, because kind of around that time it was more the big emotional sort of ones that he tried to stick somewhat of a message to.
Alrighty, so let us look at video games in 95. So we only have one this week because I don't have an exact release date for it. So
Ah,
I'm just going to stick it here. It is a Sega CD game.
yes, because that was a thing at the time.
It was, and it's called Wild Woody.
Woody.
I'm gonna share this link with you in chat. You
Oh
play
boy.
you play as a pencil.
So on some hands, I'm not too surprised. It was the marvelous time of any crazy idea you could think of and program a sprite to move around in a 3D world, you could most likely make a game out of it.
Oh yeah, this was like the midst of like everybody wanted to have a platforming mascot.
Yep, somebody to compete with the Mario and the Sonic.
Yeah, exactly. But it looks. There's only one screenshot on here, but oh boy.
That definitely seems to be a thing.
It exists, but that's about it.
So true.
Yeah, so that is the only game we have for this week, unfortunately. Let us get into the episode. So,
Yeah.
we have a Codemaster named Lens the Reaper who wreaks havoc on Mainframe while looking to challenge the legendary Codemaster Talon, who took refuge in the system. Fong and Bob assure him that there is no one in Mainframe called Talon. Enzo discovers that Old Man Pearson is Talon and has to convince him to come out of hiding, while Bob tricks Lens into a game with the hope of nullifying them both to save the system. In the end, Lens is moved by the mainframers' honorable willingness to die for each other. So, what did you think of this episode, Dave?
It was one of those little things that I don't remember the episode specifically, but oh man, do I ever remember the character. Just the case that it is drastically different from anything that the show has kind of shown off. And I think it was a case of the specific studio mainframe, along with Reboot and the other show that they were working with at the time, were trying their best messing around with the system for what sort of things that they could do with, and they started to get to the point of dealing with more realistic living things. And oh man, did they ever have a fun time with this particular character.
Yeah. Talon certainly has a design. I don't even hate it. It's not necessarily bad. It's just it's certainly it's certainly a design.
But it's nothing that you would say that would be too much. You'd send it back to the drawing board, or you could essentially take this character and make his own spin-off sort of story, supposedly.
I mean not Talon lens, but
Yes,
yeah, I
yes.
mean it's not I could see them going like, "Oh, we might do a spin-off with this character." I don't really know how, but like the design isn't terrible.
Hmm.
Like
It's
especially
one of
for
the particular.
1995.
No, that's definitely true. It's one of the things of, as it sits to my knowledge in the bit that I was able to find out, the character within the show or further on isn't going to survive. But the design and what they're going to do with it will. Because I know, especially with some of their later series, that they refine it, improve it, make it look, I wouldn't say amazing, but keep to the typical sort of design that they've worked with from Reboot and onward, and improve it and give it more of a fleshed out, interesting style for the other stories that they tell.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, like the design isn't bad, and he's a good enough character that yeah, you could probably do a spin-off, but you know, I you mentioning that they're gonna like refine kind of the design elements. I'm like, yeah, you for 95, like I said, it's a fine design, but if that's gonna be your main character, I feel like you kind of have to give it a bit of a spit polish.
Hmm. Something like that. No, it's understandable. And it's another sort of case of, aside from him and just the reveal of the Talon just being the cranky old garbage man character, supposedly being a badass back in his time, just the case of, wow, this episode is fairly forgettable, even with the game style of uh, old western train chase with an improved enemy model, definitely in comparison to the enemy models from the previous episodes.
Yeah, yeah, you can tell that like there's definitely the animation has definitely gotten better.
Mm.
Um, not I mean it's there's definitely been either there's more money or they have more time. I'm not sure what the answer is there, but yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. Anyway,
But I think,
um,
but I think the only one other thing in the episode is the case of, supposedly the situation is so dire that they actually have to go to Megabyte for help, and Megabyte is like, "There's a codemaster in the system, dude. You know what they even do to viruses? I'm not flipping helping you."
yeah, no, I was kind of like, but if we've had a Codemaster all this time, why didn't they just go deal with Megabyte like a while ago?
And again, they give somewhat of an explanation, but they are essentially bounty hunters, a specific society that you can go to, pay them a certain amount, and they'll do the dirty deed.
Yeah, but you feel I don't know. I mean, I just look at it as like Megabyte's fucking with your life a whole lot. Why wouldn't you just you know?
Like, the very most that I could say for that is, it's old man Jenkins in the garbage place that sure has all the knowledge and whatnot of the stuff to do, probably has the equipment, but has no physical exertion or any sort of care for trying to do this super big hero stuff. That time has long passed.
Yeah, I mean
Like, the
that's
only other thought is that he has the same sort of mindset as you. There if it's not immediately or very critically affecting your life, you're not going to lift so much of a finger out of it until it's critically affecting you.
I mean, I don't know if that's entirely true, but it's not far off.
Okay. Don't want to be insulting, but
No,
on
no, I
my
get what you're saying though. I'm definitely like my general philosophy for life is I don't really care what the fuck other people do as long as they don't bother me, and as long as they
mm,
don't hurt anyone else. Like I don't really give a shit.
yeah.
I do love how they refer to it now as the GameCube, which
Yes.
made me very happy. And I'm like, I miss the GameCube.
Yes, it did its thing. Nice little guy sitting on the side table next to me.
Yeah, the GameCube was a friggin' great era.
Wasn't it? With all the particular stuff?
I know there was so much good stuff on that, and okay, I'm gonna sound like an old man here, but there was so much more like different. Like there were so many different types of games.
So true. It was still a time of experimentation, of trying to get every particular idea out and on there.
Yeah, no, like everybody was doing like weird shit. Like Nintendo was doing like an M-rated game.
That's so true. Though, I'm trying to remember. I know the big one, but I'm not sure if that was the first.
Well, they did. What was that game called?
The super big one I'm thinking of was Eternal Darkness.
Yes, Sanity's Requiem. Yeah, there was that, and they did. I think maybe like one or two other ones on the GameCube.
I wouldn't be surprised, but that might have been also additional company assisted. Like, company had an idea and went to Nintendo with it, and are like, that's a little bit out of our wheelhouse, but yeah, why not?
Well, yeah, because they did. They did the Twin Snakes, which I'm pretty sure was M, but that wasn't like made by Nintendo, but it was a Nintendo exclusive.
No, that's definitely true. Yeah, and as soon as you kind of get blood into it, that immediately slaps the M on you.
Pretty much. Pretty much. Okay, am I crazy or do T-rated games not exist anymore?
Eh,
Because
there's some,
it
but
feels like
there's not,
everything
it's
is
not
E or
within
M.
it's kind of within the basis of how far certain things decide to tread. Like, I think most of the other typical RPGs and other sorts of things, before you dive into the super big popular ones that are coming out right now, are still kind of T, but yeah, with a couple of them, they're starting to dive into M territory.
Yeah, I miss T-rated games. I want a new James Bond game. That's one that I'm allegedly we're getting one from the folks that make the Hitman games, but there hasn't been an update on that in like a couple of years, I think. So
Hmm.
anyway,
Interesting. Though
we've
I
gone
question
very off
where they're going
topic.
to head with it.
I hope it's basically just Hitman, like the Hitman gameplay with like a James Bond skin.
Yeah.
That
Old
would be
James
cool.
Bond, older James Bond, or new James Bond?
See, if it were up to me, they would have a few different James Bonds that you could play as.
Yeah, that would be best.
Like, give me Connery, give me like maybe Pierce Brosnan, um, dude, what just finished up his run? What's his name? Daniel Craig, and maybe
I.
like one others.
Mhm.
Yeah. Anyway, we've gotten very off topic.
Yeah, a teeny bit.
Anyway, was there anything else you wanted to bring up about this episode?
I think at the very much it was interesting enough. Give a little bit more interesting style, thoughts and ideas for particular things within the show, as well as what the show can sort of work on and provide with the character design. But it's kind of one of the episodes of, aside from the one main thing, you pretty much forget about it.
Yeah, there's not a ton going on in this episode. Oh, okay. There was one thing, and I didn't write down the what exactly it was, but they referenced. I don't even know if you've heard of this town. Are you familiar with a little town in BC here called Spuzzum?
Buzzum. Not specifically, no.
Okay, because it is referenced in this episode. I don't remember exactly how, but I remember writing a note about it. It's a tiny little town, and I don't know why they referenced it.
Okay.
but yeah, it was just. It's actually no. Calling it a town is unfair. It's not big enough to be a town.
Okay, one of those sort of cases. Again, it's been a while, but I'm not too. I'm pretty sure that there's probably still the one or two places around in Canada that are still like that.
Yeah, it's like less than 300 people.
Mm.
So I thought that was kind of funny that there's this random like weird reference to spasm.
Well,
Anyway,
it's also one of the things of it's from the studio, so their own little in joke's always fun.
this is true. So if there's nothing else, next week we will be watching the episode When Games Collide. Megabyte uses game energy to break into Mainframe's archive. He causes two games to merge into one and becomes trapped in the game himself. Bob saves his life, forcing Megabyte to grudgingly let him go when he captures him in the archives. So this sounds like it might be kind of fun. It might be kind of fun.
Definitely a sort of case of I have vague memories of bits of this episode, but I think mostly with the improvements to or heading into the second series, the intro's got to be updated with newer scenes from later of the first season as well as into the second season. And one of the little snippets is from this episode for good reason.
Okay. Well, until next time, I'm Paul.
And I'm Dave.